They took the silver boot and kicked the Rangers to the curb with it. But Adrian Beltre and the Rangers won't go quietly into the Texas night 2 years in a row, or will they? The battle for the boot begins anew, starting now. From Arlington, Texas, Root Sports brings you Houston Astros baseball. Series coverage of the Houston Astros and Texas Rangers is presented by Chevrolet. Today it's the first game of this three-game series. We begin the battle of the Silver Boot for 2015. Good afternoon, everybody. It's the Rangers home opener. Bill Brown, Alan Ashby, Julia Morales here with you to see the first of 19 games between the Astros and Rangers this year for the boot, which the Astros won last year for the first time since 2006. Ash?
It had been a little bit bleak, but a nice year last year for the Astros to get that turned around, and now do the guys desire to hang on to that boot with everything they've got.
The Rangers split their 4 games in Oakland. It was a wild ride for them offensively. The Astros can say that same thing. They've been in a rash of strikeouts, dropping 2 out of 3 in their opening series to Cleveland.
Run's very difficult, though, for the Astros to get in their 3-game set. The Rangers had a 10-run game yesterday with 4 home runs, so they've had a little success, and Colin McHugh tries to stop a team that comes off a big day.
He's on a nice winning streak carryover from last year right now.
Pitched extremely well. Did not make the club coming out of spring training, but got there early on in Seattle and pitched so well that he earned another start and another and another. And when it was all said and done, 11-game winner, a great ERA on the season. Look at the whip at 102. He was just spectacular. A big strikeout guy, too, and you would never guess it. But he struck out just about 9 guys per 9 innings. In fact, a little over that mark. Colin McHugh was everything the Astros could have asked for.
Coming up, battles for the boot. Chris Carter and the gang rolled into Arlington last July and swept the Rangers on their way to a season series win. Can they keep the silver boot in Houston 2 years in a row? Julia Morales sets the table next.
beginning of the Battle of the Boot. The Astros taking it from the Rangers last season for the first time since 2006. Astros going 11-8 against their in-state rivals. The Silver Boot means more than just to fans. New skipper A.J. Hinch saying today he doesn't know much about the history of the boot, but he knows it's worth winning and he wants to win it. The Astros made lots of improvements last year, and you could see that by the win column, but also by the way they played against their division rivals in the Texas Rangers. And we'll take you back to last season. This is July when things were going really well for the Astros against the Rangers in that season series. Chris Carter was on fire after this point. He had 2 home runs in that second game of the series. Obviously had a great second half of the season. And also we saw this kid at the time, George Springer. We were just getting to know him with a nice deep shot to center field there. And then we also got to watch him get it done defensively. Who remembers this catch? One of the greatest catches of the year. I think he did it without seeing the ball. Incredible stuff, robbing Alex Rios there. Rangers obviously not very happy about the way things ended for them in the season series with the Houston Astros. They were used to having that boot, and with so many injuries last year, they're going to look a little bit different to start out of the gate here. Of course, the new skipper, you see it at the bottom of your screen, Jeff Bannister there. Prince Fielder, Derek Hollenbach, will see him today, and Yu Darvish will not be here, of course, out with injury. Jurickson Profar as well, but the division does not get any easier, guys. The AL West, it'll be fun to watch these teams compete all year. I know the Astros are looking forward to it. A.J. Hinch thinks his guys are ready to compete. Brownie.
Thank you, Julia. The next 15 games for the Astros come against those clubs in its division. It's going to be a nice early season stretch for the fans to try to assess exactly the strengths and weaknesses in the AL West. And certainly the Rangers are happy they have Derek Holland back. He was out much of last year. Here's the starting lineup for the Astros to face Derek Holland. It's brought to you by Southwest Airlines. It's Jose Altuve leading off at second base. George Springer plays right field and bats second. Jed Lowry moves up to the third spot today. He had the home run for yesterday's only Astros hit. He's at shortstop in the 3 spot. The cleanup man is first baseman Chris Carter. With Evan Gattis the DH, Jonathan Villar starting at third base for the first time this season. Jason Castro the catcher, Robbie Grossman in left field, Jake Marisnick in center field.
On the mound for the Texas Rangers, a good left-hander when he's healthy, and that's the big question right now. He's 28 years of age. Derek Holland last year went 2-0 with a 1.46 ERA, but that's just 5 starts, 1 game of work out of the bullpen, 37 innings overall. Second time he's made an opening home game start now for the Texas Rangers. Last year hobbled by a knee surgery that kept him out much of the year, and this spring a bit of a sore left shoulder. So we'll see how healthy Derek Holland is here this afternoon.
3-1 against Houston in his career in 7 starts with a 3.52 ERA. Holland taking a moment before coming up on top of the mound for the first time in 2015. And that injury-riddled season for him last year that Ash talked about, limiting him to just the 6 games, 5 starts. A thing of the past now for the 28-year-old lefty from Newark, Ohio. Jose Altuve at 0.91 for the first 3 games, has scored 1 run so far this season. And this one on the ground will give him his second hit of the year, jumping all over that first Holland offering as Altuve reaches.
That's what you look to see from Jose Altuve at the top rather. Early hacking in the count. The Astros have been a little quiet in that regard to this point.
Altuve aboard. That equals the Astros hit total of yesterday when they lost 5-1.
They didn't see many pitches like that yesterday. Finding a lot of the hard plate and up. Jose Altuve has a pretty steady response for that kind of pitch.
George Springer will follow. Springer's walked 3 times to go with his .250 batting average, giving him a .455 on base percentage for the first 3. And he's swinging, and it's strike 1. The Astros have lost 7 straight road openers. And this home field advantage has been exactly that for the Rangers. They've won 16 of their last 21 at home against the Astros. Little roller back to Holland. He takes a peek at second, throws to first for out number 1.
I think some of the faithful for the Rangers here in Arlington felt like Holland might have been able to get that lead out at second base.
It looked as if he had time.
That Hopper back to the mound. Should have provided for the opportunity only if you immediately turn and throw right there. But he didn't. He took the peak. It was a little bit of a cautious approach.
Jed Lowry bumped up to the number 3 spot in the lineup. Hit the home run with 1 out in the 9th inning yesterday to break up the no-hit bid by the Indians for a .333 start to the season. And Lowry showed that pop yesterday as a right-handed batter against lefty Nick Hagedorn. So finding himself in the number 3 spot today, hopes to get something he can drive right here. Lowry takes, and it's strike 1. Corey Blazer is the home plate umpire. Rangers really had a great pregame ceremony before their home opener today. The first pitch was delivered by retired U.S. Air Force Staff Sergeant Nicholas Bradley, and he was accompanied by the 43rd President of the United States, George W. Bush. Lowry takes a look at it. 1 ball, 1 strike. Bradley's participant in the Warrior Opens offered at the George W. Bush Presidential Center. Texas Governor Greg Abbott participated in a Texas toss involving Rangers Hall of Famer Pudge Rodriguez, also in the pregame ceremonies today. Now here's a pickoff at second, and they get him. Rougned Odor was not very far from second base. He moved in, and Holland picked out Tuve off second base.
You don't see many teams actually run this type of play anymore. But when accomplished like this, you'll get some outs. That's a big out. First inning, anybody wants to jump on top. Makes you wonder if Altuve was thinking about running.
He just kept edging further off second base. Lowry takes the 1-1 pitch. It is strike 2 for Holland.
I think Jed Lowry might tell you right now the outside corner is a bit expansive.
It appears to be. Lowry pumps one to left field. This is hit well. Way back on the run, Ryan Roa. That one bangs off the top of the wall and gets out. A Lowry home run. 2 home runs and 2 at bats for Jed Lowry. 1-0 Houston.
Jed Lowry hit 1 all of last year from the right side of the plate. These 2 home runs mentioned by Brownie, both from the right side.
Well, Lowry in this number 3 spot pays immediate dividends for skipper A.J. Hinch and makes it 1-0 Houston. And that ends a long string of innings without allowing a home run for Holland. He had gone 51 1/3 innings.
If you're wondering how Lowry wound up in the 3 spot today, A.J. Hinch has been trying to find a way to get some quality at bats in the heart of the order, and he feels that Jed Lowry has been providing that to this point.
Well, both Houston Astros homers in 2015 coming from Lowry. Now Chris Carter looks for his first hit of the year.
Let's take a look at what Jed Lowry was able to slam out of here. He didn't get any too much of it. That breaking ball really up through the plate a bit, and Astros hitters are getting something to hit, and now we'll talk more about it.
And Carter skies it to center field. Leonis Martin. Lowry got the first hit by an Astros 3, 4, or 5 hitter this season to make it 1-0 Houston. Watch now in the lineup for the Texas Rangers as they have their home opener. They feature Prince Fielder, back healthy this year. A .285 career hitter. Shin-Soo Choo last year had a .340 on base percentage for Texas. Adrian Beltre is getting close to 400 career homers. And here's the starting lineup now. Jeff Bannister, who's been living in the Houston area for years. Leonis Martin is the center fielder. Shin-Soo Choo is in right field with Adrian Beltre at third base. Prince Fielder, the cleanup man, plays first base. Ryan Rua is the left fielder with DH Mitch Moreland following him in the lineup. It's Elvis Andrus at shortstop. Rougned Odor at second base. Robinson Chirinos the catcher. And on the mound with a 7-game winning streak dating back to last year, Colin McHugh facing Martin. Martin takes strike one. McHugh has won his only decision against this Texas club. He had a very good ERA on the road last season, 1.66. That's yanked foul right over the head of the first base coach of the Rangers. And quickly the count goes McHugh's way at 0-2. Martin trying to get started, and Martin really got it going late last season when Tim Bogar had taken over as the manager. He made Martin his everyday leadoff man, not just part-time leadoff man. 27 years old. He responded very well, and he's led off every game, but this time leads off with a strikeout for the Rangers.
On the mound for the Astros, we've seen him, Colin McHugh. May I say, last year, maybe baseball's Jordan Spieth. Nobody expected anything, but the young baby-faced looking guy came on, pitched extremely well. Wants to get even better this year. Colin McHugh, 11-9 last year in 25 good-looking starts. Fourth in the American League in Rookie of the Year voting, and he deserved every vote he got and maybe more. Colin McHugh has that mindset of working both corners extremely well.
Shin-Soo Choo looks at that one. It's called ball one to Choo.
Dare I say that pitch might have been a strike in the top of the inning.
Third baseman VR is in on the grass. Infield shifted around. So Choo, who with that on base average of last year, respectable .340, brings a career .383 on base average into this season, trying to be a table setter for Beltre and Fielder in the middle. He homered yesterday at Oakland. That's dropped in for a strike by Colin McHugh. With that 7-game winning streak dating back to August 12th of last year. That's the longest since Roy Oswalt won 9 in a row from August of 06 through April of 07 for Houston. And it's foul back. 2 balls, 2 strikes. He was indeed a revelation last year, as you pointed out, Ash. Colin McHugh getting everything together, and well, he deserved those votes you talked about at the end of the season in recognition for a terrific year.
And what we see here, he falls behind 2-0 on some close pitches, and then comes slider. Pitch called a strike. Another one that gets fouled back. He can throw any pitch in any count.
Choo strikes out on another pitch upstairs. 2 punch-outs to open the season for Colin.
Colin McHugh wouldn't begin to tell you that a pitch like this was what he wanted. The result was great, but off speed, maybe the changeup, up, and that's not a location for that kind of a pitch, but you'll take the strikeout.
He worked in particular on the changeup in spring training this year. Now Adrian Beltre. He hit one of the 4 Ranger home runs yesterday. Beltre takes, and it's strike one to the slugging third sacker. One of the best players in the game, and seemingly headed for the Hall of Fame someday. He bounces this one, and the shortstop Lowry takes it on over to Carter at first. It's a 10-pitch first inning, and it's 1-0 Houston.
Gaddis, we'll see him up here in just a couple of seconds, who's coming off a really frustrating couple of days, was excited to get to Dallas. He's actually from here, has family, wanted to just think about family for a little bit before stepping back into the box like he's about to. He's our Geico quote of the game, had 8 strikeouts in his last 2 games, and said about it after the game to the media, he said his performance is just embarrassing. He doesn't recall ever having a stretch like that, just frustrated with himself, especially after feeling really good this spring. And when you think back, guys, just other than the wrist injury that he had a couple days, he did look really good this spring.
Certainly did, Julia. We are looking at a right-hander warming up right now. Derek Holland has been taken out of this game, and it's Anthony Bass, the former Astro, coming in to relieve him. An apparent injury forcing Holland out of the game, and Anthony Bass, who made this club as a non-roster invitee, comes in as the long man today. After going 1-1 last year with 2 saves with the Astros, spent some time on the shelf last year with a right intercostal strain, and then signed as a free agent in December with the Rangers. He's 5-9 with a 4.37 career ERA from Dearborn, Michigan, and Wayne State University. Quite a surprise that Holland, who was visited after the Lowry homer, has come out of this game. So we don't know if it's a flare-up of the knee surgery you talked about, but he was bothered by some stiffness in his shoulder in spring training.
That's the one I would guess, but who knows? A blow nonetheless for the Rangers.
Gaddis sneaks one under Prince Fielder's glove and on through into right field, coming up 0 for 11. He just hit a little tapped ground ball, not hit hard at all, but Fielder seemed to be fooled by it and couldn't make the play.
Let's see what the makeup of a major league knock looks like. Is that one? We'll find out. Bat shattered right off the end of the bat.
Still waiting for a ruling on it as Jonathan VR comes up. VR 0 for 2 in yesterday's game, coming in off the bench. It's ruled an error on Fielder, his second. And it's bunted foul. Back up over the screen, strike 1. The Rangers have committed 6 errors this year.
Can you imagine what's going through the mind of Evan Gaddis right now with all the strikeouts and the 0 for going on, and then he slips one through and can't get the knock.
VR was 1 for 7 against Holland. Now he turns around, so the fact that he's a switch hitter is a good development for the skipper, A.J. Hinch. He doesn't have to worry so much about the lineup he put out there not being ideal against a right-handed pitcher, Ash.
Yeah, and this is a lineup for the Astros where you've got a couple of switch hitters that probably blends nicely either way.
Upstairs 1-2. Mentioned the Rangers on the statistics sheet had 5 errors. One of those charged to Elvis Andrus on Wednesday at Oakland has been changed to a base hit today by Major League Baseball. So officially they're back to 5 errors now for the season. In the dirt, and Chirinos blocks it. 2-2.
Yeah, really should have said 3 switch hitters in that Astros lineup. That makes this a much more flexible group of guys for A.J. Hinch to be able to deal with if you can maintain this group.
This is the second outing of the season for Anthony Bass. He worked 2 scoreless innings on Monday. High chop to third, Beltre to second, and that's it. The ball was in the air a long time, and VR is a speedster. 1 out.
See the real difference right there. Adrian Beltre, one of the game's outstanding defensive third baseman. No hesitation. He knew it might be close at second base, but unlike Holland back in the first inning, that lack of hesitation, just commitment to the play, gets the lead out. This is quality work, and even a lot of major league infielders might hesitate on that play. Not a bit of hesitation from Beltre.
Jason Castro steps up. Hank Conger did the catching yesterday. Jason caught the first 2 games of the season. He rips a line drive right at fielder. A bullet for a 3 unassisted double play, and Castro just really smacked that one hard. It's a 7-pitch inning, and it is the Astros 1 and the Rangers nothing. 1-0 the Astros lead it. Colin McHugh had a 1-2-3 first. And Jason Castro really stung that ball for the 3 unassisted double play on the line drive to end the top of the second inning. Now Prince Fielder leads it off in the second after catching that line drive. The shift is on. Altuve out in shallow right field. And it's strike one to Fielder. We're told that he's been hitting the ball well to the left of second base this season. 333 with 3 runs batted in for Fielder. Only one player there, Jonathan Villar. This one a ground ball, and the shortstop Lowry ranges to his left to take care of out number 1.
I found myself really curious how plays are assessed on this ground ball that was straight up second base. But with the shift on, is this viewed as a shift play that takes away a hit? There's no real telling, but it sure did set up nicely for the Astros.
Ryan Rua, 4 for 16 to start his season. Has won the left field job, at least to open the year. Rua takes a big cut, and it's a foul tip for strike 1. Rua worked his way into some playing time last season with the Rangers and impressed enough to get that shot this spring. Then he went home and added 10 pounds of muscle after converting from infield to outfield last year. He's 25. From Amherst, Ohio. He went to Lake Erie College, 17th round pick in 2011. Strike makes it 0-2. Last year he had 105 at bats and he hit 295.
I keep going home trying to add 10 pounds of muscle, and I can't pull it off.
Well, you can do that tonight, pal. Struck him out. We've got a long time to work out until tomorrow's night game.
There is not enough time on anybody's watch for that for me. That over-the-top hammer works well for Colin McHugh.
That's a big pitch for him. Such a slow, tantalizing pitch. Mitch Moreland, the designated hitter, hit one of the 4 Ranger home runs yesterday. They banged out 12 hits and beat Oakland with a 10-run attack, but they had struggled in the 3 previous games. Moreland with ball 1. Now the Astros in their 3 games against Cleveland hit .096 and they scored 3 runs. The Rangers hit .130 and they scored 3 runs in their first 3. So these hitters can identify with each other for a brief 3-game stretch to open anyway.
By the way, what is the best topping on your pizza for that 10 pounds of muscle diet?
Oh, you could go just about anywhere with that.
I've been trying.
The shift still looks the same as it did on Fielder now with Moreland at the plate. And it's 2-1. Astros shifted their defensive players more than any other team in the majors last year. And the Rangers, like the Astros, had a game with only 1 hit in the previous series. Lowry once again is there. So both times on Fielder and Moreland, Lowry made the play well to the first base side of second. That's 6 in a row set down. It took only 9 pitches there in the second inning for McHugh to preserve his 1-0 lead. Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. Well, it's quite an eventful home opener so far for the Texas Rangers. They have fallen behind the Houston Astros 1-0 after great pregame ceremonies, but then it's begun to go downhill since then. And when it began to go downhill, it was Derek Holland leaving. First of all, after one inning, with tightness in the back of his left shoulder. Now we have a new right fielder. And the first pitch here in the third inning to Robbie Grossman is foul. There's strike one. Grossman 0 for 3. Jake Smolinski now has taken over in right field for Shin-Soo Choo. We're not sure why he left the game.
I'm betting Jeff Bannister thought managing would be a little bit more passive than this.
Boy, yeah, your home opener, game number 5 of the season for him. He's lost 2 players in 2 innings. 1-1 to Grossman. It's a 2-ball 1-strike count. Robbie was in the starting lineup yesterday for the first time in 2015. He was 0 for 2 with a walk, playing left field. He looks at that, and it's a 2-ball 2-strike count for Anthony Bass. Derek Holland in his 1 inning allowed 2 hits, 1 run, with no walks, no strikeouts. Well, that cannot be a good sign for the Rangers. The fact that he had the tightness in his left shoulder early in the spring. That's the reason he is starting their 5th game of the year and hasn't already started. And now it flares up again. That's smacked into right center field. First hit of the season for Grossman. Well hit. And that's a leadoff single. The Astros have the leadoff man on for the 3rd time. 2 of those on a hit, the other on an error.
I think we're getting an early peek anyway at a more aggressive Robbie Grossman, and I applaud him. It looks really good. Taking some good swings. Yeah, he got a pitch up again, and the Astros hitters are seeing more hittable pitches now, I think, in 2 innings than they had seen in possibly 3 games to start the year.
Jake Marisnick is in the number 9 spot. Bunting, he pushes one to the first base side, and Bass will toss to fielder. Sacrifice. Grossman moved over on a 1-3 sack. Our T-Mobile game changer is the most prodigious leadoff man in history. 13 years ago today, Craig Biggio hit the 31st leadoff home run of his career and passed Bobby Bonds for the all-time National League lead.
Ricky being Ricky is still out in front on that total figure, but boy, what a career in every aspect had by Craig Biggio.
Wound up with 53 of those leadoff homers. Jose Altuve opened the game with a single on the first pitch. Odor is not too far from second base. And Rangers worked that pickoff earlier on Altuve at second with the lefty Holland on the mound. Of course, everybody's really watching that base runner's lead when he reaches second with 1 out in the inning. If he can steal a base, get to third with 1 out, that can be a key. Altuve leans back from it. It's a strike for Bass. 1-1. Ranger bullpen is not thought to be a strength of their team. That's in the air to right field for Smolinski. With the grab and the tag. Advancing on out number 2, Robbie Grossman.
But when you're on the bench on a major league team, you want to be watching every moment and see what you can pick up. I would say that with Smolinski catching this ball and not moving into it, he still showed a pretty good throwing arm from right.
Yeah, he kind of reached back a little bit, and that had to hamper that throw a bit, didn't it, Ash?
So you always want to watch that. Now, you don't learn anything there about what type of an outfielder in terms of charging the ball he might be, but he does have some arm strength. Might not have been exactly the way he would want to play that ball, but I don't think under any circumstance he could have stopped the advance.
Springer, the batter, moving back from ball one in tight. Julia showed some highlights from the Astros series here last July when he made that fabulous catch, smashing into the center field wall here. One of the top catches of the season last year in the majors.
And he had personally some of the most amazing catches of the year. But that one, as Julia was saying, I don't think George even saw the ball the last few feet. And he was coming on like a freight train to that wall.
He looks at ball two. 2-1. Much too early in the season to make anything out of numbers, but George Springer has been taking some walks. He's developed some favorable counts. This number 2 spot might be a real suitable position for him in the lineup. That one goes foul, and it's 2-2 to Springer.
I don't know what it takes for a George Springer to start making more contact, but that's the area I would like to see. I'd like to see him stay aggressive. If he draws the walks because pitchers don't want to face him, so be it, and that's a great thing. But don't passively allow hammerable pitches slip by.
Springer takes a look at it. It's ball 3.
That's a good take right there.
Tomorrow it's night baseball. Giovanni Gallardo making his second start of the year for Texas. Roberto Hernandez makes his first for Houston. We'll be on the air with the pregame show at 6:30. Time call. And then Sunday, the finale of this very brief 3-game road trip for the Astros finds a 1:30 pregame start for Colby Lewis and Dallas Keuchel. Big cut by Springer. He's down on strikes. No runs, a hit, and a man left for the Astros. 1-0 Houston.
I would say that takes us inside the box score as we break down Colin McHugh's high strikeout rate. Over 9 per 9 innings last year, with half coming via the fastball and half via the curve. You can see on the left-hand side the curveballs, and for the good part they were down. That's what you would expect. That curveball starts in the same range as you see on the right side box. The fastball's up, and Brent Strom has to love that. The utilization of the high fastball, same slot curveballs, and maybe the reason for the great success of Colin McHugh last year.
He has been sharp, perfect through the first 2, facing Elvis Andrus with a 1-0 lead, home 3rd inning. Andrus takes strike 1. Andrus had been charged with 4 errors in the first 3 games. One of those was changed today to a hit from the previous series. He did not have a good year last year. There's a clean hit. First base runner for the Rangers. Andrus singles his way aboard.
Andrus looked like he got the slider, some version of a breaking ball, out over the plate a bit, and able to get the barrel to it nicely. See what Colin delivers. Yeah, that's finding a lot of the plate. Doesn't mean a guy's going to get a base hit or even hit it hard, but you should take your chances as a hitter there.
Andrews, who's a good base stealer, is on for Odor. Rougned Odor, 091, 1 homer. He was the youngest player last year in the majors at age 20. And the toss goes over on Andrews. The Rangers have not attempted a stolen base yet this season. And their opponents have not tried one against them either. BR's on the grass at third. Odor frequently tries to bunt. And ball one does not tempt him. Chirinos is on deck. Odor is from Venezuela. Last year he hit 9 homers in 386 at bats.
Through a lot of the years, I think of the Rangers as being a slam and ball club. But Leonis Martin already has a bunt single.
Andrews is going. Here's Castro's throw there, and the tag by Lowry gets him. Andrews is cut down. He's been 74% successful in his career. This time he is retired from 2 to 6.
I think he's asking for a review of this play. He doesn't want to leave second base, and he pointed right away, but it sure looked like the throw got him.
It did. Las Diaz saw it that way.
See if this glove gets down. You know, that's very close, and I can understand a feeling from Andrews that maybe he got the fingers to the bag before the tag, but I think that's one that would be too close to overturn.
Castro to Lowry for the out, and now this one's yanked foul. Hard hit grounder. Hector Ortiz coaches at first, Tony Beasley at third for the Rangers this year.
That is the first caught stealing for Astros catchers on the season. A perfect throw by Jason Castro.
That was a really good throw. That slap foul into the Astros dugout. That clears him out in there. Hank Conger will move to another position. Upper back spasms forced HOU out of the game in right field. Odor takes a look at that one, and the count runs to 2 balls, 2 strikes. Dallas Keuchel was superb on opening day, beating Cleveland 2-0. Scott Feldman gave up 1 run in 6 2/3 in the second game of the year after Keuchel went 7 shutout innings in the opener. That one goes into the left field corner. Grossman over to dig it out. Odor with an opposite field double. First double for Odor in 2015.
That certainly highlights how impactful a caught stealing can be in a game. Pretty hitting here by Odor. Not a big guy, but he has plenty of pop. In fact, the Astros have seen him go yard. But he's getting a pitch up and away and doing with it what you should. It's difficult to do, though.
Now the Rangers get back-to-back hits. This has been one of the tough ballparks for pitchers down through the years. A whole lot of hitting here at Globe Life usually, and it's not warm today. Robinson Chirinos is the catcher, number 9 hitter. There's strike 1. The ball flies in this park, although apparently some recent remodeling has caused not as much offense to come around, and then there's the general drop-off in offense in Major League Baseball, so it's not as explosive a ballpark and yielding runs as it had been. Check swing call goes the Rangers' way, and it's 1-1 to Chirinos.
I keep trying to warn my wife about that impact, about remodeling at any time.
Yeah.
Just don't think it's good for the offense.
Not good for the pocketbook, we know that.
what this ballpark reminds me of? The play in it a little bit is Coors Field. It's a big, expansive outfield. Outfielders might have to play back a little bit. It feels like the gaps are large, but the ball carries.
It sure does. It is expansive. The corners are deep. Fences jut back from the corners. So in the right field corner, it quickly moves back to 349 from the right field line. It juts at an angle.
And that can be said down the left field side, quickly getting back to 354. So it's a big yard. When we mentioned Coors Field, of course, talking about Denver.
Two 1 pitch is hit to shortstop. Lowry. And he's had a busy day of it so far. 2 down.
So in that type of ballpark, if you can get yourself some ground ball outs, the strikeout always big no matter where you're at. You got a chance of pitching well here. Jed Lowry here for this very purpose. Steady defense, if not the spectacular play, and then swing the bat well from both sides.
He's made 4 plays on grounders, and then the other one on the tag on the caught stealing. Leonis Martin, Cuban-born outfielder, struck out in the first inning. They strike 1 to Martin. This is the 44th season in Arlington for the Texas Rangers.
That's a good hammer over the top right there, and yet a good swing by Leonis Martin. We saw Odor have a good swing on a curveball. Maybe the Rangers are sitting back looking for that pitch.
Bouncer goes to first base. Carter tossing to McHugh. No runs, 2 hits. The caught stealing very large in that inning. The Astros maintain their 1-0 advantage.
We're talking about Jed Lowry here. Home runs in each of the last couple of games, each from the right side of the plate. This was yesterday the only hit and run as it resulted for the Astros, and then today the only run of the ball game on this home run that hit the top of the wall and got out of here. Jed Lowry here to play some good defense, is supplying some offense.
The switch hitting Lowry for his career is a .283 hitter, right-handed, .250 left-handed. He steps up now in the 4th inning after that homer in the 1st. Home runs in consecutive at bats for Lowry. Will be followed by Carter and Gaddis. And now as he bats left, it's ball 1. How about switch hit homers in the same game? Something Jed has a chance to do now that the starter, the lefty Holland, is left and Bass is pitching. High drive to right field. Smolinski. Well, maybe next time. 1 out.
close.
He got it up in the air.
Pitch might have gotten in on Jed just a fraction. He's getting the good swings right now. There's a guy that really can go a long way to help this young Astros club this year. They tried to work him in. Bass got in just a bit and looked like the swing might have been cut off a hair.
He had a shot.
And sometimes you get to shaking your head and slapping the thigh because you know when you took that swing you just missed it.
Carter hit a fly ball to center earlier. There's ball 1 to Chris. In that 3-game series with Cleveland, the Astros 3-4-5 hitters were 0 for 32 with 16 strikeouts. 1 ball, 1 strike. So the change of venues going well so far as the hitters are getting some good swings in this game. They have 3 hits and then that hard hit line drive by Castro into a double play. In tight, it's 2-1. Carter fouls it back and the count is 2 balls 2 strikes. The Astros were 32 and 49 on the road last year. This is the first of the 81 road games they will play in 2015. This is only a 3-game road trip. They'll have a longer trip coming up next time. Carter strikes out. Punch out number 2 for Bass.
Celebrate Jackie Robinson Day with the Astros on Wednesday, April 15th. A special pregame ceremony will take place to honor Jackie Robinson's legacy and celebrate diversity in baseball. Purchase tickets by visiting Astros.com/Jackie Robinson or by calling 1-877-9-ASTROS.
Evan Gattis with strike 1 is 0 for 12 to open this season. Reached on an error by fielders first time up today. Oh, the temperature is cooler than it has been in Houston the last few days. We were getting a forecast of rain for Arlington a few days ago, but apparently that's changed for the weekend. Ash,
I'm hearing a little bit of rain in Houston this morning. I'm not sure how much.
Bouncer up the middle. Here's Odor bracing, firing back to first. Out. Boy, Gattis in a bid for his first hit of the season. Nipped on a fine play by Odor. We go to the bottom of the 4th, 1-0 Astros.
Powered by Kubota. We're talking about Colin McHugh, who's back to work now. Hey, Roy, I can't say it. Royer, there we go in 2014. Colin McHugh looking much better than I'm being able to talk here. This is from his Astros debut back in Seattle, and then he had another great performance later in May against the Angels. We saw him just do work on the road, and the numbers show that as well. Colin had a great year, but If you look at those road numbers, check it out. 186 ERA in away games. It's pretty impressive stuff, guys. Road Warriors. There we go. I got it.
That's right.
I liked it better the other way.
Smolinski leads it off. He took over for the injured HOU in right field. There's strike one to him. Julia, this is kind of your old stomping grounds. You covered the Rangers back in their glory years, the World Series, right?
There were some good times in this ballpark, and I was there covering it with some smaller markets that I worked, or TV stations that I worked for.
Jed Lowry. It's another chance. It's his 5th assist on a ground ball chance in this game already. Well, the Rangers would love to get back to that day, of course, when they get to a World Series again. They had a couple of shots. Now kind of in the regrouping mode. And it'll be interesting to see how they progress this year. Both the Rangers and Astros are getting not a whole lot of attention in the AL West in the predictions. Adrian Beltre grounded out earlier. There is strike one. We were chatting with some of the Rangers broadcasters about their series in Oakland, trying to get a feel for what that Oakland team is all about. That's a hard team to gauge right now, after all the changes the A's have made, after trading the likes of Josh Donaldson. Coco Crisp has been hurt.
Well, and then look at their starting rotation, the guys they've lost from there.
True. Yeah, they have some new people they're working in this year. And that's what a lot of people look at in the month of April, trying to figure out who's in the various pitching rotations for the various teams and the lineup changes from last year, and figuring out if they're better or worse than they were a year ago. Striking, it's 0-2. Well, the Astros, beginning this string of games against the AL West, will be welcoming Oakland Monday night to Minute Maid Park.
Look at that location. A couple of pitches right at the bottom of the knees for Colin McHugh. 10 of 12 first pitch strikes.
He is sizzling out of the gate, just as Keuchel and Feldman were. And so next week, Ash, at Minute Maid Park, Monday through Wednesday, Oakland. Friday through Sunday, the Angels. It's a chance for fans to come out and see these teams and gauge for themselves what they might be expecting. Swing and a miss by Beltre. He's thrown out by Castro. 2 outs. 4th strikeout for McHugh.
Yeah, I'm interested in seeing the Angels, and one series doesn't tell you the whole story, but I think the Angels and a lot of people's pick this year, the Seattle Mariners, are going to be really tough clubs for the Astros to deal with. 38 games the Astros face those two teams total.
Well, Albert Pujols hit a big 2-run homer a couple days ago. Milestone for him, number 521. Fielder with ball 1. So that ties Albert with Hall of Famers Ted Williams, Willie McCovey, and Frank Thomas on the all-time home run list. And dating back to his Cardinal days, fans love to come out and see what Albert can do against the Astros. That last pitch, a strike. And the infield shifted around as always on Fielder. He smacks a liner to left. Robbie Grossman over to play it. He got an excellent jump, but Fielder gets a 2-out single.
Here comes our steal, pitch by pitch, as Prince Fielder has a knock and feels good about things right now. But we're talking about Ryan Rua, who was at the plate when Colin McHugh got him. Well, he threw a pitch through the heart of the plate and got by with it. Then very close off that edge, got a strike. Curveball or breaking ball down below the knees to do the polishing on that final specimen there. Colin McHugh can really move it around well.
Now it's Rua for the second go round. Breaking ball 1. McHugh with 11 major league wins, 17 losses, and a 4.19 career ERA. Spent time with the Mets and the Rockies before the Astros got him in a terrific acquisition by Jeff Luhnow. Well, when you look at what Keuchel and McHugh did last year, it was a quantum leap forward for both of them, and they're 40% of the starting rotation. 2-0.
You know, we were talking last inning, Brownie, about what Colin McHugh does with curveballs and fastballs. That curveball comes out high, like the high fastballs that he picked up a lot of his strikeouts on last year, and then eventually bends down to or below the knees. And it's that look where everything seems to come out of his hand at the same spot, therefore making the curveball and the fastball tough to read.
Fouled away, 2-1. McHugh was claimed on waivers by the Astros in December of 2013.
Well, what a claim that's turned out to be.
You know, that point you're bringing up is a really good one, and somebody was doing a little clinic on that in one of the magazine articles recently, and the pitcher was describing it as throwing his pitches into a tunnel, trying to get all of them out of that same release point. And it's like putting to a spot before the cup. It's like throwing to a spot before the plate, you know, that kind of concept, so that the hitter has a hard time differentiating.
You know, it really speaks to Brent Strom's desires to have Astros pitchers not only throw the fastballs down around the knees, but get a lot of them up, so you change that perspective, and that perspective actually winds up being the very same one as a good curveball is thrown from.
This one off the mitt of Castro, gets behind him and advances fielder to second base. Jason reaching down into his left, and he couldn't stop it.
Jason Castro doesn't need me to cover for him, but any catcher who has ever played in the big leagues will tell you the pitch to his left, the one that doesn't come back as much as you anticipate, is the one you'll miss more than any other pitch you'll see all year long.
We're assuming pass ball on that.
Yeah.
Which would be his first of the season. 3-2 now to Rua. Rua tops it foul.
Yeah, that would be my assumption. Certainly should be called that way.
The Rangers had an awful spring training in terms of wins and losses. They were 9-19 with 5 ties. They won only 2 of their last 19 spring training games.
You know, I imagine at some point that concerns a manager in the organization, but I'll tell you who it really concerns is the fans of that team.
Yeah.
I just think that it's too easy with the passion and throwing your heart into it to not read something into that, whereas the players are probably, you got that mixture, the guys who are feeling good and the guys who are still trying to get to feeling good.
Then their first game in Oakland, they got 1 hit and lost to Sonny Gray and the A's 8-0.
That you concern yourself over.
That's a walk to Rua. First walk for McHugh.
And that hit didn't come till late in the ballgame. Sonny Gray is really good, but it does make you think, are we in a position right now to get this season started?
Well, they bounced back and won their next game 3-1. Then they got shellacked 10-0 before winning 10-1. It's been a crazy start for the Rangers. McHugh with his first walk. Last year, he limited the walks very well. 41 in 154 innings.
Well, for the Rangers, Brownie, you just described what a lot of the season can be like. You can be dominant and you can be pathetic on back-to-back days.
Mitch Moreland grounded to shortstop earlier. Rangers signed Wandy Rodriguez at the end of spring training. He was released by Atlanta, and he might be back with them soon with this Holland injury today. Moreland takes, and there's ball 1. Wandy's at AAA Round Rock now. And he had thrown some good games for Atlanta this spring, one against the Astros. There's a breakdown with 18 pitches so far in the 4th. Collins' last spring start was 4 innings by design, tapering off. 2 balls, no strikes.
Remember last year with Colin McHugh, he'd have stretches where he was just as sharp as could be. And then he'd lose it for about an inning, sometimes 2, where he couldn't find anything close to the plate. And he's having a little bit of a version of that right now.
He was in some trouble last inning. The caught stealing helped it through that. Now 3-0 to Moreland with Andrus on deck. Colin McHugh, when all the figures were processed last year, led the Astros in ERA and strikeouts. That was the lowest ERA by an Astro since Roger Clemens and Andy Pettit in 05, when he wound up with a 2.73. Swinging on 3-0, Moreland does not make contact.
Yeah, that tells you what Major League managers certainly think about having a good hitter at the plate, a dangerous hitter, and that 3-0 or 2-0, that hitter's kind of a count where you anticipate getting a fastball. Colin McHugh was not going to give into that count.
He created some nice late movement downward on that pitch. And now a little comebacker. It's grabbed fair, and Castro got it for the final play of the 4th inning. It's no runs a hit, 2 men stranded. McHugh works around some problems in the 4th and stays in front 1-0.
The Astros in the Astrodome on April 17th, 18th, presented by Coca-Cola. On Friday, the 17th, 10,000 fans will receive a Jimmy Wynn bobblehead, and then on Saturday, the 18th, we'll turn back the clocks with an era-specific uniform. 10,000 fans will also receive a 1965 replica Astrodome. For more info or to purchase tickets, visit Astros.com or call 1-877-9-ASTROS today. Guys.
Julia, we missed the show out at the Astrodome last night. 23,000 people turned out to celebrate the 50th anniversary of that exhibition game with the Yankees at the Dome. Quite a party last night. And enjoyed seeing the photos of that. Here's Jonathan VR taking strike 1, inning number 5 underway.
Everything gets old, Brownie, but the Astrodome, it's actually hard for it to get old for me. I thought it was such a gem back in those days. And I am really grateful that I had a number of the years of my playing career played in that building.
Did you see the video of Cheo Cruz's grandson swinging the bat in front of the crowd?
No, I did not. Grandson?
Yeah, he looks like he's about, what, 4 or 5 years old, maybe?
Very likely. Of course, Cheo, not too bad himself. One of his sons, a terrific player. He had more than one that could play the game, though, that's for certain.
Yeah, he sure did. He had Jay Ito.
Yep. Jay Ito had a great career.
Jose Cruz Jr. He's working for the Players Association now, right?
I think so, yes. It's a big shot.
And Jose Enrique. VR draws a leadoff walk. And that could lead to something with his legs. MD Anderson Cancer Center showing you this moment in history as the Colt 45s played their first game at Colt Stadium there in the parking lot of the Astrodome in 1962, and Bobby Shantz was on the mound and beat the Chicago Cubs in that historic opener. Major League Baseball coming in. There was the structure of the Astrodome in the distance. Now Castro, he lined into that double play earlier. Now a liner gets into shallow right field. Not nearly as well hit as his out earlier, but he connects, and it's first and second. Nobody out with Castro delivering.
People always say in this game, hit the ball hard 2 or 3 times a game and take your chances. Well, I don't know if that's always true. Hit the ball soft sometimes and you'll get your knocks.
Got some lift on it.
Well, I've said it already. I think Jason Castro's primed to have a big one, and was glad to see him have some early success.
2 men on now. Anthony Bass came in the second inning in relief of injured Derek Holland, who left with some stiffness in his left shoulder area. Robbie Grossman smacked a single into right center field in the third inning, advancing as far as third base. The Astros have 4 hits, the Rangers with 3. Bass turning back towards second. Rangers really paying attention to these Astros base runners when they reach second base. They picked off Altuve in the first. Beltre's in tight at third. Grossman around to bunt, pops it up. Bass diving, tremendous play. He's got a double play at second. Great play by Anthony Bass, diving and starting the 1-6 double play. A pitcher laying out.
You know, I'm sure there are some people saying, how can you make that mistake? I dare anybody to go out there at second base and try to run the bases on this play. If it drops and you haven't moved toward third base and you're thrown out, you've blundered. If you have this happen, you're just unfortunate you were the base runner. That's it.
Now, what is a base runner to do? The ball could come out of his glove when he hits the ground. Yeah, it's a real dilemma.
Actually, you've got to make a mistake as a base runner to not wind up getting doubled up on this play.
True. Orisnik, the batter, he put down a sac bunt earlier. Strike one on Jake. And crediting Bass, he just created all kinds of problems for the base runner VR with a tremendous play. Not a play often seen from the mound. That'll go back out of play. No balls, 2 strikes. Well, Bass, even though he probably wasn't expecting to be in this game in the second inning, really came to compete today, Ash.
Tough assignment. You're sitting out there in the bullpen. What did you eat before the game, anticipating that, well, I'm not going to be called upon early in this game, and now all of a sudden the phone rings for you?
Yeah. Hopefully you didn't eat much.
Well, apparently Anthony Bass ate the right thing.
1-2. He's in his 4th inning in relief of Holland. Really picking up this Ranger bullpen by stretching it out today.
You know, we talk about guys that can make quite a difference this year, and I think that falls in everybody's lap, but Jake Marisnick, he could really be a heck of a player. I mean, he's already so gifted defensively. Now you turn him into a good offensive weapon, and you've got a real deal maker in center.
That's why he gets this chance to play in 2015 based on what he did last year. Little tap goes foul. Involved in that trade with the Marlins, and he hit .272 with the Astros after being traded.
Come upon him physically, you'll be surprised. He's a big guy.
Listed at 6'3", 225. Good cut there by Jake. Still a 1-ball, 2-strike count. Well, last year, as the Astros won the season series from the Rangers, they won 70 and the Rangers won 67. For the Astros, it was a 19-game improvement. But for the Rangers, they went the other way from 91 wins to 67 wins. Two balls, two strikes. So they wound up with the Astros finishing fourth and the Rangers finishing fifth in the AL West. It's like a full house today at Globe Life Park. Marisnick checks his swing. The appeal went to first, but there's the indication by Jeff Nelson he did not go. And it's a full count to Jake.
You know, the Rangers have some of those players like we're talking about Jake Marisnick. And Chirinos behind the plate is a guy that comes to mind immediately. Very good defensive catcher. Can really throw shutdown running games. They're looking to see if he can be an offensive weapon.
Runner goes. That's a line shot, left field corner. Castro to third base, and he's going to be sent home. Here's Andrus with a throw to the plate. Not in time. 2-0 Houston on a Marisnick RBI double. Second run batted in for Marisnick in the young season.
Well, there you go. Jake Marisnick comes through. He got a breaking ball that stayed up just a bit on the inner portion of the plate. Got his hands through early, and it's a tough pitch to keep fair. Got to be able to cut it off a little bit as he did there. That breaking ball just didn't do much. Jake Marisnick takes advantage, and that's part of what being a good offensive player is. Take advantage of opportunities. Not the strongest of relays there from the shortstop.
Rua got it there to Andrus. Gary Pettis, the third base coach for the Astros, has been coaching for the Rangers the last several years. He knows their club extremely well. Marisnick has knocked in run number 2. That's hit number 5 for Houston. Jose Altuve bats. He has one of those hits, a leadoff single, 1 for 2. Mike Maddox just went to the mound, the pitching coach. One hopper to Beltre. In the 5th inning, the Astros strike for a run on 2 hits. They leave a man, stretch their lead to 2-0.
Our ball game, 2-0 Astros over the Rangers. Here comes the steal, pitch by pitch. Talking about Colin McHugh on the hill, and this against a very tough bat of Adrian Beltre. 4th inning, gets the early strike with the breaking ball. Beltre's patient, but then patience doesn't pay off at that point. Very close on the 0-2 pitch, and then the curveball in the dirt is the finisher. That's Colin McHugh at his finest right there. He will mix it all over the place.
So now the second time through the lineup, the hitters have seen something of him. Elvis Andrus on an 0-1 pitch had a sharp single. He became the first man to reach after McHugh had retired the first 6. But his pattern may change on Andrus. It's strike 1. Last year, Colin threw his fastball 40% of the time. Broken bat looper. Lowry. 1 down.
You wouldn't think the curveball would break a bat like that, but the curveball thrown in a tough spot where a hitter's reaching, hits it off the end of the bat, it'll shatter that thing in an instant. See what this curveball over the top does. It's that, boy, that's just the definition of yacker there. And shatters the bat.
It talked loudly.
It does.
1 out for McHugh. Odor, who doubled to left field in the 3rd inning, bats. Big night for the Astros farm clubs. All 4 of them won their debuts. 2015 last night. Ball 1 to Odor. Fresno beat Las Vegas 2-1. Corpus Christi down Springfield 9-4. Lancaster took San Jose 3-2. And Quad Cities bettered Peoria 7-3. 1-1. Brad Peacock was the starter for Fresno. He went 4 2/3 hitless, scoreless innings and came out on a pitch count.
Good for Brad. The importance being that you want to have him ready for this club very soon.
Hit to third base, and VR takes care of it. 2 down. VR has been impressive in the fact that he lost his job at shortstop. Jed Lowry coming as a free agent, and had 1 chance to make the team as somebody who's a utility man, and he took to that. He played some third base this spring, some short. I think he played a little second and even some first and the outfield, and he looks good in center field.
Yeah, I'm not so convinced at this moment that center field might not be his best position.
Might be. Robinson Chirinos grounded out earlier. Showing bunt. He brings in the 3rd sacker VR. It's ball 1. Tony Kemp had 4 hits in Corpus Christi's win. Danry Vasquez a walk-off single in the 9th for Lancaster.
Tony Kemp's a little ball player.
He is. About as tall as Altuve, right?
Just and slighter in build. We got to see him a bit this spring, and the kid just steps in and he can play.
It's 3-0. Tony DeFrancesco, manager again at AAA, but at a new place, Fresno, has a very good starting lineup for his team.
That's a location that can get a little bit toasty during the middle of the summer.
Ooh. That one sails wide for ball 4. Chirinos taking a 2-out walk.
When I made that comment about moments where Colin can suddenly just not even be close, that was it right there.
The moment, yeah. Now, Tony D had Matt Dominguez at third base last night. John Singleton at first.
That's a very good AAA roster. The AA roster, you'd have to say, is the same.
Preston Tucker was in the outfield. Just solid players at every position last night. And then, of course, you've got superstar caliber players at Corpus Christi. Oh, by the way, Carlos Correa had a 2-run double last night over the center fielder's head. Mark Appel is there. Teoscar Hernandez. So there's some star power. Leonis Martin takes strike 1.
You know what I heard more than once this spring about Carlos Correa is that when he steps on the field, and I don't care what game, major league game or otherwise, that you're talking about, he's the best player on the field. I heard more than one person say that this spring.
Were they Astros uniform personnel people?
I'm trying to remember exactly who I was talking with at the time. One was certainly organizational. The other one might have been. But They were not uniform personnel. One might have been. So I think I could have heard that 3 times. And it could have been one of those slogans that kind of starts going around.
He's very impressive. Altuve on to Carter to end the 5th inning. And after 5, it's 2-0 Houston. Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. By Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit us at geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. And by Jack in the Box. Jack's hottest sandwich is back. Head to Jack in the Box for Jack's Blazing Chicken Sandwich. 49 pitches in relief for Anthony Bass of the Texas Rangers. Derek Holland, the starter, had to leave after 1 inning with some stiffness in his left shoulder. The Astros lead at 2-0. Holland gave up 1 run, and Bass gave up a 5th inning run. So he has been indeed a long man out of that bullpen. George Springer is the batter. He is 0 for 2. And there's ball 1. Delino DeShields is in the game in left field now for Texas.
Is this still spring training?
Boy, it's been amazing all the changes the Rangers have made during this game. They've made 3 now.
Yeah, if these are necessitated by injuries, little something going wrong, I'd hate to be in the skip shoes.
Springer takes a look at it. 2 balls and a strike to George. Lowry's on deck. That's smoked on a line to center field. Martin got a great jump, then almost overran it.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if this didn't turn out to be some sort of a line drive knuckleball to center field. The way Martin, a gifted center fielder, comes after this, and this ball was busted. You just square that ball up, and it starts to see how that sailed toward left center at the last instant. There on TV, you can see it well. That ball had something unusual going on.
The Astros have had some hard hit outs today. Jed Lowry hit one nobody could make a play on, a homer in the 1st inning. Fouls that one back, and then he hit a fly ball pretty deep to right field his 2nd time up. Jake Buchanan got the win in relief for Fresno last night. Peacock went 4 2/3. He walked 5 and fanned 2. He threw 87 pitches.
Ooh, 5 walks. That's a bit concerning. That doesn't sound like the guy that we watched one day on a backfield during spring training. He looked as sharp as could be.
He really did that day.
Yeah.
Change up, strike 2 to Lowry. Last Astro to hit homers from both sides of the plate. Lance Berkman Former Astro and Ranger. July of '06. 1-2.
Astros had a couple of catchers back in the '80s do that.
Maybe Alan Ashby and Mark Bailey.
It could have been.
2-2. Well, Buchanan, with his 4 innings in relief, giving up 2 hits and 1 run, got that win for Fresno. They had Nolan Fontana at shortstop, Ronald Torreyes at second. Matt Duffy was the DH for them. Preston Tucker in left. Max Stassi was the catcher. Singleton at first. Santana in right field. Domingo Santana. Matt Dominguez at third base. L.J. Ho's center field. That's a very good lineup.
You know, I didn't get to watch Max Stassi obviously all of last year, and the numbers weren't great. But every time I've seen him play, he's impressive.
Had a good spring. Bouncer to first. Fielder takes care of out number 2.
Whether treating employees, hosting clients, or bringing out your church or youth sports team to Minute Maid Park, Astros Group sales tickets will create an experience that you'll love to remember. Reserve great pricing and benefits for your group by calling 1-877-9-ASTROS or visit astros.com/groups.
Come on out next week, starting Monday. Oakland in town for 3, and then after a day off Thursday, the Angels next weekend at Minute Maid Park. Chris Carter's 0 for 2. Fouling it for strike 1. The Corpus Christi lineup included Teoscar Hernandez in center, Leo Aris in left field, Brandon Meredith in right. He hit a homer in their win. Tyler Heineman did the catching. Conrad Gregor at first. Colin Moran at third. Tony Kemp at second. Correa, of course, at short. So that's a solid lineup as well. They, by the way, have their home opener, the Hooks, on Thursday next week.
I heard somebody during the spring say of Colin Moran, the young third baseman, left-hand hitter, that he had the prettiest left-handed swing in camp.
Deep drive center field by Carter, way back off the base of the wall. He is held to a single. A great play by Leonis Martin to hold Carter to a single off the center field wall.
Well, that's going to be in the qualifying bag for longest singles on the year.
Boy, 400-foot single.
Ball smoked pretty good. If a guy with Martin's wheels and instincts in center field can't get back on that shot, you know it was smoked. And it's not like Carter's just jogging down the line. He's thinking to. Just no chance.
Evan Gattis is 0 for 2. Ground ball behind third. Beltre going to second for the force play to end the top of the 6th. No runs a hit. The Rangers keep it close, 2-0 Houston.
And the #1 live streaming sports service is celebrating 13 years. Watch every out-of-market game live or on demand in true HD, over 400 mobile and connected devices. Enjoy real-time highlights, live look-ins, pitch tracking, and more. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv for details. You heard Brownie talking about Jonathan VR. Last time he was playing defense. Hinch actually was talking about the lineup changes. Had a little bit to do with the lefty and as well as getting his offense going. VR getting the start today at third. He felt comfortable with him at third, especially the way that he played it all spring training. I asked VR how comfortable he felt, and he said, I'm ready to play anywhere where I can get in the lineup. I'm ready to help this team. He also said that he played third base when he was much younger, 14, 15 years old. Of course, he signed at 16, and then from there played shortstop. So he said, I'm just taking it back a little bit, but yeah, I feel comfortable, guys.
2-0 lead for the Astros. Smolinski, the batter. It's 1-1.
I'm not sure what limitations, if any, there are physically as playing shortstop now. A-Rod kind of set a new bar there. Maybe there have been others, and Cal Ripken would be in that on that stage in terms of big guys at shortstop. But VR's he's a strong guy, and I could see him as a third baseman if he developed with that power, speed, and instincts to play in center field.
Ground ball to VR. Comes up about waist high. He has the arm to play there. 1 out.
Keep putting that body in front. He can play at third. Our league leaders are brought to you by your local Honda dealer, Adrian Beltre, on the all-time home run list. And boy, he can play third base and swing the bat. Look at those names. Duke Snyder, Al Kaline, Andres Galarraga, Dale Murphy, and Joe Carter. And right behind, 400 sure to come for Adrian Beltre.
A key player, certainly. 0 for 2.
Just keep him wanting until this series is gone.
He's tough to hold down, isn't he? He won the Triple Crown of the Rangers last year. 284 lifetime, 396 homers. Close to 1,400 runs batted in. And those are considered Hall of Fame numbers for a third baseman. Third base is not a position heavily populated in the Hall of Fame.
Played against a pretty good one in Mike Schmidt.
He's considered by many to be the best third baseman of all time.
Combining power and kind of everything that went with it defensively.
Yeah. Eddie Matthews was great. I
had just a peek at being able to play against Brooks Robinson in the early part of my career. He wasn't the same player then that he once was, but a lot of people feel like with his defense and the offense he brought along with it, he might have been the greatest. But Schmidt, with the home run ability, really set himself apart.
Roman Mendez, a right-hander, is warming up for the Rangers in their bullpen. And Beltre really has hit the Astros well. He's hit .361 against them since 2012. More than anybody with 100 at-bats against the Astros. 2-2.
Talking about Adrian Beltre yesterday, he got a curveball and he can drop to a knee with the best of them. Reggie Jackson used to be the big knee dropping guy. He drops one more time and he gets enough to drive it out. He's a fun player to watch and great on top of it.
He drives this one deep to left center field. Grossman on the run. Extra bases off the wall. Beltre has a 1-out double. First double of the year for Beltre.
Yeah, kind of like with that curveball down maybe below the knees yesterday and hitting the home run. Beltre drops right here and takes a pitch. Let's see if this is under the knees or not. Not down around the knees. But yeah, he can go down and get it. He can hack at it high. He's just one of those free swinging players that's really good on top of it.
He's aboard for Fielder now. Potential tying run at the plate with the power hitter. 1 for 2. Prince just 30 years old. Big cut there, strike 1. Last year he had neck surgery for a herniated disc. His last game for the Rangers was May 16th last year. And prior to that point, he had missed 1 game in 5 years. Line drive out over Altuve into right field, charged by Springer. He brings it to the plate, and it's first and third, one out on the fielder's single.
Yeah, this is one of those plays with fielder going down the line, Springer charging. And keep in mind that Carter has an assignment. He's a cutoff man on this play, so he went to the assignment spot. But he could have also chosen to go back to first base, and I'll bet Springer would have made this a close play. On the changeup, look at this fine piece of hitting by Prince Fielder.
Really is.
Well, he stays back just enough to get a portion of the barrel part of the bat to it. Now he knows he's got to dig, but look at Springer coming on. Carter went to the cutoff position. That's the right thing to do. But had he gone to the bag, that would have gotten interesting.
And now a big test with Delino DeShields, the former Astros farmhand, batting for the first time in this game. He took over in left field for Ryan Rua. And he is very speedy. Trying to bunt his way on, and he fouls it, strike one.
Yeah, there are some who feel that he's going to stick through this year with the Texas Rangers. If they send him back down, the Astros have the option to get him back, but apparently he's looking pretty good early on.
The Astros drafted him in the first round in 2010. He was the 8th player drafted. His father, Delino, was actually also a first-round pick and is the AAA manager for Louisville this season in the Red system. Father batted left. Showing bunt again. He looks at a strike, and it's 0-2. DeShields played last year at AA Corpus Christi. He hit .236 with 11 homers, 57 runs batted in.
You know, you hear people talk about 12-6 curveballs. Colin McHugh has one. It goes literally from the 12 on the clock right down to the 6. He gets his fingers right over the top of the baseball.
DeShields punches one foul. It might have seemed to some to be a stretch for the Rangers to take DeShields in the Rule 5 draft because he had hit .236 at Corpus Christi, had not been above AA. But nonetheless, it's not costing teams that much to take players in the Rule 5 draft.
He looks slimmer to me right now than he was a year ago when I saw him.
High chop in the hole. Lowry, as the run scores, goes to second. A stretch by Altuve, safe. Now he's got a tag play, and he gets the out on Fielder, who overran the base. The run scored to make it 2-1. And the Astros got a break with Fielder overrunning second base.
It's really not okay for a base runner to have that happen. You should be sliding in hard and staying at the bag. Let's see what winds up causing this. Lowry's throw just offline enough that Altuve had to come off the bag, and Fielder did not slide. So it's kind of a mistake that I dare you to come up with a right answer going back to the bench to explain it.
And now it's Moreland batting. The 2 outs in the inning. DeShields is a threat to run. Stole a lot of bases in the minor leagues. Moreland's 0 for 2, and there goes the throw to first. Lowry would be covering from the first base side of second with the shift on Moreland. DeShields had a fabulous year of stealing bases with 101 in his best season in the minors. Pitch out and a fake toward first. And so it's really a low-cost acquisition for the Rangers, taking DeShields in the Rule 5 draft. If he doesn't work out, they really aren't out much money for the draft choice, and they offer him back to the Astros. But they cannot send him down to the minor leagues this year.
Not without the risk of losing it.
Right.
Now, there have been Rule 5 acquisitions that once that player's been gone, there was no intention of bringing him back one way or the other. I don't think that would be the case here.
Well, the Rangers are shy on young talent. So it's a way for a team which finished 5th place last year to restock its farm system at a low cost. The key is, can they keep him on their roster all year? And the Astros have done this before with players like Eric Yelding. Usually Rule 5 type choices who haven't played a AAA are very speedy players who could be used to pinch run. In other words, they may not get too many at bats, but they can be utilized so as to keep them on the roster all season long and not be a drag on the whole team.
I remember a couple of years back, Travis Fryman was picked up by the Astros as a Rule 5. They sent him back down risking things and lost him. And he's been playing for the Oakland A's since.
Nate Fryman? Yeah, the first baseman.
Yeah, there you go, Nate Fryman. So I've got to come up with both portions of the name correctly, huh?
This is a head knocker. There's the rivalry personified, Rangers and Astros. That's pulled. Oh! Blocked on a hop by Carter. Nice play because the ball was fair and he got a recovery there as the ball flipped up just momentarily off his mitt. He's able to take it 3 unassisted. For the final out, 1 run, 2 hits and a man left. It's 2-1 Houston after 6.
Inmate Park. Every Friday night home game is followed by the best fireworks show in town. That's presented by Marathon Oil Corporation. The next fireworks show is Friday, April 17th, when the Astros take on the Angels. For more information, visit astros.com/fireworks, or you can call 1-877-9-ASTROS.
Here at Globe Life Park in Arlington, it's a dandy 2-1 ball game. The Rangers home opener here in 2015. The Astros leading it. The Rangers just got their first run of the day as DeShields hit a ground ball, and that wound up being an RBI for him, scoring Beltre. And now Roman Mendez comes in from the bullpen, facing Jonathan Villar and throwing strike 1. Villar 0 for 1 with a walk. Pat Neshek warming up for the Astros. The injury causing Ryan Rua to leave the game was a right ankle sprain. That's cranked to left field. DeShields backing. Converted infielder. 1 out. Mendez set down the side in order yesterday at Oakland in the 9th. And this is his 3rd game already. He's on an opening day roster for the first time, and there you see what he did last year.
Looks like Colin McHugh may be done with his work today. Pat Neshek getting it loose.
We're hearing a report about a blister.
That's not a good report. It plagued Colin McHugh last year.
Castro is cranked on the first pitch both times. He takes it this time. Strike 1. We go to Julia.
Brownie, it looks like it's a precautionary thing, just on the verge of one. So his day is done early.
Well, it's a good time to shut it down before it becomes a bigger problem. Neshek working. Off-speed pitch from Mendez, 0-2. So Mendez coming in with this now a 1-run game after a terrific job by Anthony Bass. 5 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts, 63 pitches in relief of the injured Derek Holland.
The middle finger on the throwing hand can be the finger in jeopardy with a lot of breaking balls, and that's what Colin McHugh lives with a lot.
Brett Overholzer has been sidelined with that same injury. Has been trying to work his way back. 1-2 to Castro. Mendez had an excellent spring with a 0.90 ERA. He punches out Castro for out number 2. This Ranger pen really keeping it close.
And now here comes our steal pitch by pitch. Jason Castro at the plate eventually strikes out, but takes a pretty hittable pitch right there despite being on the outside corner. Breaking ball down under the knees, and then the cheese thrown up in the dining area. Came back up again off speed and got him. A little bit surprising. I bet Jason would like to have that AB again.
Grossman looks at ball 1. Robbie with a single to right center, and he popped up a bunt try which wound up starting a double play on a diving catch by Bass. Looking back at that Bass play in the 5th inning, there were runners at first and second, nobody out. He turned it into a double play, and the Astros did score 1 run, but it could have been a much bigger inning had he not made that play. Marisnick's on deck. The Astros have out hit the Rangers to this point, 6-5. Texas with the only error. That's a strike to make it 2-1 on Robbie Grossman. Three balls, 1 strike to Robbie. Crazy day for the Rangers, losing 3 players in 1 game. Out to center field. Martin turns, and he's got to turn back the other way. It's over his head. It bounces high. It stays in play. Grossman checking in with a long double. He ripped that one for his first 2-bagger of the year.
You know, I really like this aggressive Robbie Grossman, and I'm not sure who he is yet, but if this is who he is becoming, got a chance of being a good offensive weapon. He's a strong young man, and he's gotten bigger and stronger each year. He took a pitch down and away and drove it over the center fielder's head. He can pop it from either side of the plate.
Very well hit ball. Grossman with a 2-hit game. Aboard for Marisnick now. Jake has an RBI double in the 5th and a sac bunt. 2 runs batted in on the young season for Marisnick. And a look back at second by Mendez. Very watchful Texas Rangers. When the Astros get a base runner to second, they are checking. Marisnick had a sacrifice fly in the 2-0 opening day win.
And now Houston Methodist helps us get to know Jake Marisnick. There's a lot we could get to know there. Favorite movie, The Sandlot. That's good. Favorite cereal, Frosted Flakes. And that's my favorite too, so I like him all the more now. Guilty pleasure song, Come and Get It by Selena Gomez. Really.
Fouls it back, and it's 1-1.
Only time I've heard that song is from your collection, but
yeah, solid gold, right?
Yeah. So we go from Katy Perry to Selena Gomez. We're all getting to know our Astros players.
Well, it's great this first week of baseball, and the opening week logos on the grass behind home plate and all these various ballparks, home openers, flyovers. We had F-16s fly over here before the game, thundering above. That's smoked on a line to left center field. Grossman will score. Here's the throw in toward the infield. And now at second base, not in time. And now Marisnick's going to go on to third base on the overthrow, with Houston leading 3-1. Great swing of the bat, and then the base running was energetic. Grossman coming home to score. And when the catcher Chirinos came out in front of the plate, he was hoping to get Marisnick going into second base, but he threw it low, so Marisnick advanced to third.
Good job all around. Can I add to the favorites list? Favorite pitch to hit. Anything thrown with a man in scoring position here this afternoon. Good swing by Jake Marisnick. Making strides to become that offensive weapon he needs to be. If he turns into that guy at all the way he can play center field, you got a gem on your hands.
Good hustle by Marisnick. A 2 RBI game for Jake, giving him 3 for the season. Pitching coach Mike Maddox out to visit Mendez. Grossman scoring, and it's a 2-out rally. 3 runs on 8 hits for the Astros now. Robbie really hit a thunderous double, so the Astros squared up a couple of balls in a row there off Mendez. Altuve, the batter, 1 for 3. Beltre, even with the bag. Strike to Altuve.
This guy's going to get hot any moment.
Astros 1 for 5 with runners in scoring position. One and one. Very cool here in Arlington today.
I haven't seen any complaints filed, though.
None. How many days have we said that down through the years?
Not many. It might be the first.
Sean Tollison is warming up for the Rangers. Rangers staff ERA coming into this game was 4.5, third highest in the majors.
Well, like you said, that was a wild 4-game series in Oakland.
In the air, and fielder will watch it sail back behind the Rangers dugout. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Saw a lot of people calling that pop fly right there, but none with the take charge ability to step in and make the play.
How about the Detroit Tigers opening the season with 24 consecutive shutout innings?
Man, they're scoring a load of runs on top of it. So what do you win with? Pitching or offense, or the combination, which works real nicely together?
Well, that set a new American League record. Broke the record set by the 47 Chicago White Sox to start a season. Altuve strikes out in the 7th. The Astros hustle their way to 1 run on 2 hits with an error and a man left. They lead it 3-1. peek back. Lowry with a solo homer in the first. Marisnik's had a big day. Been a crazy day for the Rangers, Ash. Losing 3 players to injuries along the way today.
And yet hanging in. Close ball game. It's been an intriguing game to watch. Nice to see Colin McHugh pitch so well, but not nice to see him wind up aggravating that little blister area again. Well, we watched a Colin McHugh who looked like he was in midseason form, very much like Dallas Keuchel in his opener. And for that matter, Scott Feldman, who pitched very well in game 2. Pitching has been on the strong side for the Astros, especially with those starters. Offense has been quiet, but just enough so far here this afternoon.
On a day when the attendance is 48,885, a sellout here at Globe Life Park in Arlington. Pat Neshek comes in with McHugh making his exit after 84 pitches, 56 for strikes. Neshek with an excellent year in 2014, a 1.87 ERA with the St. Louis Cardinals. He gave up a run Wednesday against Cleveland. Now out for the second time this year.
He's one of the guys that is really being counted on to make this a much better bullpen this year. Bullpen that gave up the most blown saves a year ago.
Elvis Andrus leads it off in the home 7th after the stretch here. Andrus 1 for 2. McHugh in 6 innings allowed the Rangers 5 hits, 1 run, walking 2 and fanning 4. Neshek, 34 years old, from Madison, Wisconsin, went to Butler University. 6th round pick of the Twins in 02. Line to third. VR takes care of out number 1 on 1 pitch. There have been some hard hit outs in this game.
Well, talk to pitchers. There's no such thing.
Yep.
Those were just perfect pitches that resulted in the right outcome.
This Astros bullpen with a 2.35 ERA for the first series. Off to a nice start. Odor doubled to left and he grounded to third. VR's in close. Neshek delivers ball 1. The work has been spread around by A.J. Hinch among the relievers. In the air to left center field. Marisnik looks over, and it's caught by Colby Rasmus, who just came in the game. 2 outs. Taking over for Robbie Grossman in left. Nice day for Grossman. 2 hits and a run scored.
You know, and Robbie's not a bad outfielder by any stretch of the imagination, but we did see Colby make a really nice play in game 1 this year that certainly could have factored into the victory.
A.J. Hinch has a lot of different potential decisions with his roster, giving him this flexibility to do what he's doing. Chirinos grounded out and he walked. Can make a substitution, as he's done in left field with Rasmus for Grossman. He can consider all kinds of different lineups every day he sits down to think about it.
And if you're Robbie Grossman, the only thing you can do is, when you get the opportunities to play well, and as close a version to today as you can come up with. That isn't always doable, but Robbie's looking good.
Marwin Gonzalez is the only position player who has not been in a game yet.
The guy who played so well in that utility role last year.
1 ball, 2 strikes to the catcher.
Yeah, I bet Marwin is itching right about now.
Gotta be. And he'll be getting his call soon.
No, one of the assignments that Marwin has probably had on his platter now early on in the season is to play some late first base.
Struck him out. Neshek has a 1-2-3 7th inning, needing only 7 pitches to keep a 3-1 lead for Houston. game. Astro fan has to be liking what he's seeing today through 7, Ash.
I thought Jeff Blum was at the Masters.
He is. He's our embedded correspondent this weekend. We'll be hearing from him later. Meanwhile, pitcher number 4 comes out. Sean Tollison, who led the Rangers pen in innings pitched last year, was 71 2/3. Now the Rangers pen has really done a remarkable job today. Anthony Bass with 5 innings of 1-run baseball after Derek Holland left with a stiff shoulder. Mendez gave up 2 hits and a run in 1 inning. Struck out a couple. Now the 8th inning will bring Springer, Lowry, and Carter to the plate against Tollison. There are no lefty relievers in the Rangers pen this year. That's a bit odd. Tollison was drafted by the Dodgers in the 30th round in 2010. He was born in Dallas, went to Baylor University. Goes strike 1 to George Springer, who's 0 for 3. Springer blistered a line drive caught by the center fielder last time up. Chad Qualls is warming up for Houston. Top of the Ranger order due up in the home 8th. That's called a strike by Corey Blazer. That makes it 0-2. Springer's late on the heater and strikes out. 1 out.
The Astros will be very happy to come up with a win today or any other day over the rest of the season, but you're also looking for a breakout from Jose Altuve and George Springer and others, and it's coming. It's not as quickly as you'd like.
Now lefty Tony Sipp has joined Chad Qualls in the Astros bullpen. Jed Lowry, the batter, 1 for 3. He homered in the first. Takes strike 1. The Astros are trying to square their record at 2-2. That's where the Rangers stand right now for their 4 games. No balls, 2 strikes.
There's your effective changeup.
Jed Lowry hit 16 homers for the Astros in 2012. That's his home run high in a major league season. Powder River for Tollison. 2 strikeouts in a row.
Kind of classic stuff there. The second strike, very well thrown changeup, and then an intended fastball up in the zone just blown by.
Chris Carter singled off the center field wall on a short hop in the 6th inning. He's 1 for 3. It's the breaking pitch foul, and there's strike 1 to Carter. Ranger pitchers have 4 strikeouts in this game. So that's a big improvement for the Astros hitters. They struck out 16 times yesterday. Check swing back to the pitcher. Tollison takes care of out number 3. We go to the last of the 8th. 3-1 Houston. stuff in the Houston bullpen when leading in the late innings. Pat Neshek had a 1-2-3 seventh inning with a strikeout. Now it's Chad Qualls for the eighth. Chad was the closer last year and was 19 for 25 in saves.
Yeah, he was effective for the club. 3.33 that ERA. Not striking out the man an inning these days, but he's got such a good sinker slider combination.
This will be his second appearance of this season. Qualls came into yesterday's game against Cleveland, worked a scoreless inning, throwing 19 pitches, giving up a hit. There's strike one. Martin showing bunt. He's 0 for 3. Colin McHugh in 6 innings allowed 5 hits, 1 run, walking 2, fanning 4. Neshek with a 1-2-3 seventh. The Astros have converted their only save opportunity this year. Fouled away. 0-2. General Manager Jeff Luhnow addressing the bullpen problems from last year by reconfiguring the relievers. And Qualls a big part of that at age 36. He returns after a successful season. But many have turned over since last year when the bullpen was the worst in the majors with a 4.80 ERA with 26 blown saves in 57 opportunities. A conversion rate of only 54% a year ago. Bouncer brings in Altuve, barehanding, throwing, and in time.
Yeah, a lot of fans here in Arlington don't seem to like the call. Number one, very well done by Jose Altuve. The bare hand option, debatable. But with the ball to his right hand side, that's what Jose chose to come up with. Then Chris Carter has to do a little Fred Astaire dance work there, and he does it well. I don't know. Nobody knows who Fred Astaire is anymore. Close. Close.
Nicely done by Altuve, who had to barehand it to give himself a chance to get the speedy Martin, who had a whole lot of infield hits last year. Smolinski's the batter. Smolinski is 26, was drafted by Washington in 2007, traded to Miami, signed as a free agent with Texas. Strike one. He came in for the injured Shin-Soo Choo. Choo had 1 at bat. Smolinski has bounced out twice since he entered the game. He played in winter ball in Mexico this past winter to work on hitting off-speed pitches. He was at 3 levels of professional ball last year: AA Frisco, AAA Round Rock, and the Rangers. 86 at bats with Texas.
It was a major league breaking ball.
Yeah. 0-2. Well, Ash, the Minnesota Twins are trying to reach the win column for the first time. They're 0-3. They lead the White Sox 3-0.
Enjoying yourself, Paul Molitor?
Boy, they scored 1 run in 3 games against Detroit.
Man,
that was unearned. In the dirt, and it's 1-2.
And maybe uncalled for. It didn't help in any aspect of winning a game.
And the White Sox also are winless. They too are 0-3 to start the season. A lot of games later tonight. Yeah, Molitor with the 0-3 start also has lost a major component of the starting rotation, Erwin Santana, to an 80-game suspension. Liner caught by VR. 2 outs, and the hard hit out theme continues in Arlington.
Yeah, and the Astros at the moment saying bring it. As long as you can get outs, get them. Hot corner. But Major League third baseman routine.
Now it's Beltre. He's 1 for 3, a double and a run scored in the 6th inning. Ball 1 to Beltre. The Astros will have Gaddis, Villar, and Castro due up in the 9th. In for a strike for Qualls, 1-1. Well, Qualls, because he was the closer last year, and the Astros didn't give him all that many opportunities compared to most full-time major league closers, worked 51 innings. He's worked a lot more than that in his best years. 1-2.
Boy, he can get some run on that heater.
He worked 88 innings for the Astros in 06. As a setup man that year, pitched in 81 games. Beltre immediately shot up that left hand asking for the appeal. He didn't swing, and it's 2-2.
Don't even think about trying to make that call yourself. He's fun to watch. He is just something. Well, a lot of guys would risk getting thrown at by doing that, but Beltre, everybody knows what he's all about.
And he strikes out to end the 8th inning. That's great relief for the Astros. 6 up, 6 down in the 7th and 8th. They lead it 3-1, moving to the 9th.
Games on certain days of the week with all the giveaways, your favorite rivalries, or maybe a little of each. The Astros 14-game flex plan puts you in charge. You get to pick the games and seat locations that work best for you. Purchase your 14-game flex plan today by visiting Astros.com or calling 1-877-9-ASTROS.
Thanks, Julia. The closer, Neftali Feliz, finds himself entering the game in the 9th inning with his team trailing 3-1. Spent the first 3 months of last year at Round Rock after having Tommy John surgery in 2012. And then in 2013, he pitched only 6 times. He's made good on 88 of 99 career saves, trying to keep it within reach here as he faces Evan Gaddis in the 9th inning. Gaddis 0 for 3 and 0 for 14 to open this season. Ball 1. Feliz hasn't given up a run over his last 12 1/3 innings dating back to last year. His velocity is down a little bit. He was a 96, 97 mile per hour guy last year in September. He hasn't been able to dial it up into that range consistently, other than a pitch or two here and there so far. He got a save on Tuesday.
Those rare guys through the years that can maintain a high-end velocity for a number of years are rare. It's just It seems near impossible to be able to do that in the game today.
Luke Gregerson's warming up for Houston. 2-2 to Gaddis. Tolly Feliz is from the Dominican Republic. Began his career in the Atlanta organization. Gregerson for Houston. He's involved in that big trade coming to Texas in 07. Gaddis punches out. 1 out.
Yeah, I think for the moment for Evan Gaddis, this is not exactly what he would call fun.
That's a rough start. He had struck out 8 consecutive times over the previous 2 games coming into this one. Today he hasn't struck out until this time, but still 0 for 4. VR 0 for 2 with a walk. Fouling it away, strike 1.
You know, the intriguing thing about this difficult game is that the guys who are potentially the most dangerous at the plate are the ones that are most prone to these types of slumps.
One and one. The Astros were hitting .096 as a team for the first 3 games. They had a .208 on base average in that Cleveland series. Elvis Andrus 2 outs. But they're 3 outs away from being 2-2. It'll be Fielder, DeShields, and Moreland due up in the bottom of the 9th inning. Jason Castro, the batter, 1 for 3. They have swung the bats better today.
Yeah, I guess the way you would explain that away is you get good pitching, and in the case of the Astros, it's not just the starter. They've gotten good solid pitching through, generally speaking, and you give yourself a chance to score on the low scoring, or win rather, on the low scoring days.
Castro's 1 for 3.
But people through the years have gotten a little too cavalier for me when they start saying baseball is 90% pitching. Because, yes, you can stay in games that way, but if you score like the Tigers are right now, 7+ runs a game, or well more than everybody else, you also give yourself a chance to win every day. There have been teams that have won through on seasons that didn't pitch all that well. Offenses carried the load. But the slogan will go on.
2-0. Colby Rasmus is on deck. 2 balls and a strike to Castro. Night baseball tomorrow, 6:30 for the pregame show. Roberto Hernandez makes his Astros debut here tomorrow night against Giovanni Gallardo, longtime Houston opponent when he was a Milwaukee Brewer and the Astros were in the NL Central. Well, he has dialed it up too many times against the Astros. He had a bad spring. It's 3 balls and a strike. He'll be very anxious to get win number 1 of the year tomorrow night. He is 10-2 lifetime against Houston.
Think any of the guys on the current bench are aware of that stat?
Nope. 3-2. That might be a very good thing too.
Yeah, keep it that way. Somebody will pose that question, and I think I'm just the man to do it.
You are the man to do it. Well, the juggernaut Detroit Tigers lead Cleveland 5-3 in the top of the 7th as they try for a 4-0 start this year. What was that, 84 that came out of the gate with an outrageous
Yes,
start?
yeah. 2 years later, I believe, 2-3 years later, they were world champs or in the World Series or whatever.
There's a walk to Castro.
How many years did that take? I know you know the answer. It was pretty.
Well, let's see. In '84, they played the Padres in the series, right?
Okay, there you.
And they won.
So what was it? What was the year that the Tigers lost their first 19?
Oh yeah.
And it was only like 2 or 3 years prior to the World Series year.
Right. That was when Alan Trammell was the manager,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that might have been 82. I'm not sure.
I don't think that locked him up to a long-term deal.
Probably not. Colby Rasmus bats for the first time today. He entered the game in left field for Robbie Grossman. And strike one to Rasmus. Rasmus signed as a free agent with the Astros in January after playing for Toronto. It's a 1-ball 1-strike count to Rasmus. Colby on opening day had a hit and a walk. Nice start with the Houston club. Coming up with St. Louis. That was his 7th appearance on an opening day roster for the veteran. 2 balls 1 strike. Now so there's this daily thought for A.J. Hinch about Rasmus. If he plays, is he a center fielder? Is he a left fielder?
Bet you're going to bring me something there from Jack Handy.
Jack Handy. What was it? Deep thoughts from Jack Handy.
Yeah.
Deep thoughts. Well, can Colby go deep? That's a thought. 2 for the skipper every day. 2 balls 2 strikes and with reason.
The skip would go for that. I think
he's had some good home run years, so that is implanted in the skipper's mind.
And he's had 3 years over 20 home runs.
That's high to right field. Maybe number 1. Let's see if he has room to get it out of here. Colby Rasmus. 2-run homer, number 1 as an Astro for Rasmus. And the lead grows to 5-1 in the 9th inning. Second long ball of the game for the Astros.
And the second 2-out rally here for the club today. Well, I guess you could call it a 2-out rally. Jed Lowry's first inning home run that came with 2 outs and nobody on base, but nice to see. Turning it into a laugher. It's working the inside edge and just cutting it off as Colby Rasmus. He'll surprise you. He's got some serious pop at times.
That's 9 hits for the Astros now in this game. Pitching coach Mike Maddox just went out to the mound as Phillies gave up the long ball. Well, that's another nice result for the skipper. A.J. Hinch puts in Rasmus as a defensive replacement for Robbie Grossman, and Rasmus hits a homer. He got a lot of production out of left field today. Marisnick takes strike 1. 3 hits, 2 of them for extra bases, and a couple of runs batted in. Rasmus with a 364-footer gives the Astros 2 long balls in this game. They also have a couple of doubles. 1-1. Well, you know, it had to be a source of a lot of conversation around Houston yesterday when the Astros were almost no hit. They didn't have a hit until 1 out in the 9th inning. Wound up getting 1 hit. But that's the beautiful thing about baseball. That is now a distant memory because there was a game a few hours later. There's Klein warming up the bullpen for Texas. Little roller to the right side, gets by the pitcher. Odor scooping it out of his glove, doesn't get him. Marisnick gets his 3rd hit.
And you know what else about Jake Marisnick? He could scoop.
Yes.
Big man moves more than you think he's moving. Watch him come out of the box. Little dribbler. And you're already kind of not feeling too good about it, but you put your head down and run hard. He can run.
We're going to check and see if that's his first 3-hit game as a major leaguer. Meanwhile, there will be a pitching move. Well, no, they're going to review it, huh?
Yeah, I think I thought he was safe anyway. The review in my head says he was safe.
Marisnick has had a 4-hit game last year against Minnesota. A.J. Hinch made a call yesterday, and he felt that he had seen something that the umpires missed on a call at first base with Santana's foot being off the bag, but the call of out was upheld yesterday. He still felt very good about overturning it. Now the ruling here is confirmed of safe for Marisnick. So a 3-hit game for Marisnick confirmed, and Altuve will bat.
You know, if you're Jeff Bannister, here it is, 9th inning, take a shot. I mean, you go ahead and throw it out there, even if you think you're not going to get this one.
And now he's coming out because he doesn't want his closer throwing more pitches in this type situation, which could endanger using him for tomorrow. He's already been dinged for a couple of runs. As a runner on base now, his responsibility, so it might be more of a negative if he kept him in. 5-1 Houston. Back in a moment. The Rangers have moved along to pitcher number 6, Phil Klein. The 6'7" right-hander has come out of the bullpen for Jeff Bannister after Phillies got the first 2 outs, then a walk, a 2-run homer, now a play at first involving Marisnick beating the throw, and now it's Klein warming up.
Well, let's take our peek at it. That was closer than I thought, but clearly Jake Marisnick beats it. Not a whole lot of guys that beat that little roller to second base plate as it was.
Klein 1-2 with a 2.84 ERA last year for Texas in 17 games. The 30th round draft choice in 2011 from Columbus, Ohio. That was his first season in the majors. He's 25 years old. He will face Jose Altuve, who's 1 for 4.
By the way, Brownie, I was only off by a couple of decades, so excuse me. It was the 03 Tigers that won 43 games, and then 3 years later were in the World Series and lost. But
oh yeah, so it was Alan Trammell managing in 03 and Jim Leland in 06. Yeah. Runner going. Here's the throw from Chirinos, and Marisnick safe. He steals it.
This is one of the thoughts, that if Altuve can run the bases like he did last year, and George Springer mixes it in, and he's certainly capable, and then you get Jake Marisnick getting on base, driving in runs as he has today, and running like this, you've got a speedy team.
Marisnick with his first of the year makes the Astros 5 for 5 now in stolen bases. And now Chirinos will go out to talk with Klein. The pitch was ball 1 to Altuve.
I guess one of the questions, though, that gets a debate either direction is how valuable is a running game. The Astros were among the better base stealing teams last year, and yet offensively it only wound up allowing them to be second from the bottom, 14th in the league in runs scored. So it's hard to quantify sometimes. But I guess what I would say is, would you rather have a double or a single? And a stolen base amounts to some version of that. Sometimes it's, would you rather have the triple or the double? I'd take it every time.
Flared foul. Chirino's giving chase. Fielder coming over. Bounces on the roof of the Ranger dugout. 1-2 to Altuve.
Kind of curious. It's running through my head with Altuve struggling to start the year. Coming out of spring training, if somebody said to me, what would you be most surprised at seeing with this club over the first handful of games on the year? And I might have responded to that, seeing Jose Altuve have any kind of struggles with the bat. May not last more than a few days.
The Astros have more hits in this one game, 10, than they had in their first 3 games, 8. Altuve to center field. Martin waiting to end the Astros 9th inning. Colby Rasmus joining the Astros home run club with #1 for him in a Houston uniform. Lifts the Astros to a 5-1 9th inning lead. Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. And by Whataburger. You've never had a club sandwich quite like this. The Whataburger Honey Mustard What a Chicken Club. Here for a limited time. Things have gone well for the Astros, and now they try to finish it off with 3 outs from Luke Gregerson. 5-1. The Astros leading it. It's not a safe situation for Gregerson, but he did convert his first save opportunity with the 2-0 win for Dallas Keuchel opening day after a busy year last year with 72 appearances. Ash.
Skippers have the assignment of, when the opportunities don't come up quite the way you plan at any point during a season, keep guys in routine, and that's really what this is all about.
Gregerson was warming up when the score was 3-1. That would have been a safe situation, but the Rasmus 2-run homer takes him out of that, and yet 3 important outs to get with Fielder, DeShields, and Moreland due up. Fielder has a couple of hits in 3 at-bats today. Gregerson, 30 years old, from Park Ridge, Illinois. Went to St. Xavier University, where he got a criminal justice degree. He converted from position player to pitcher. Ball 1. Needed only 6 pitches to get that 1-2-3 save against the Tribe on Monday.
Some people might tell you that's criminal justice.
Yeah. 1-1. He was drafted by the Cardinals in the 28th round in 06. Then they traded him to San Diego in 09 for the shortstop Khalil Green. Oakland traded Seth Smith to get him after 2013, and he responded with a good year for Oakland last year. Line drive up the right field line into the corner. Extra bases for Fielder. Springer plays the carom off the wall. Third straight hit for Fielder. Second double of the year.
Some hitters see certain pitchers well and vice versa sometimes, but Prince Fielder 5 for 5 lifetime against Gregerson now. See how the next 15 at bats between the two go.
Yeah.
It's kind of reaching out, but Fielder's about as strong as they come.
DeShields entered the game for the injured Ryan Rua in left field. Bounced into a force play in the 6th inning. But he got an RBI on that, his first major league RBI. He was showing bunt on that occasion. There's strike one. One reason I'm sure the Rangers took DeShields in the Rule 5 draft was to get that speed on their bench. No balls, 2 strikes. He had a .317 average at Class A Lancaster in 2013. Then after that season he moved from second base to center field in the Arizona Fall League. '12 was the year he had 101 steals. But he strikes out, 1 down.
Time now for the Whataburger What a Play. And there have been some pretty good ones today. Runner goes, Castro fires and puts it on the money, and bang bang they get him with a nice tag of Jed Lowry. So there's a good one for you. And then with this tapper, watch out Tuve with the bare hand play. And again, bang, bang, nice work by Carter also to help on the play. But a couple of close ones the Astros get today and certainly qualify for Whataburger's play of the day.
Mitch Moreland is 0 for 3 with 3 ground ball outs. Beats that one into the ground, and it's a foul, strike 1. Joe Thatcher, another newcomer to the bullpen this year, along with Neshek and Gregerson. Will Harris. Sam Deduno was with the club last year, but his first time to start the season with Houston. So those components have changed quite a bit since a year ago. Gregerson primarily has been more of an 8th inning type of pitcher. Back in 2010 he had 40 holes. That set a major league record. Carter drops it, tossing to Gregerson. He was able to get it in time after a couple of mishaps along the way. 1 out, or 2 outs with Fielder to third base now.
Persistence paid off right there for Chris Carter. He's better than a perception that might have prevailed a couple of years ago defensively, as a first baseman anyway, although that wasn't classic style.
Pretty close though. Adam Rosales is pinch running for Fielder. He's at third. Elvis Andrus is 1 for 3. Jeff Bannister has used everybody but Carlos Corcoran among his extra men. Carlos, the backup catcher to Chirinos this year. We should see Corpy in this series, right? Probably.
He caught the 2 wins for the Rangers coming in today.
Okay.
So yeah, he's getting some work.
Now Sunday there's a day game after the night game. Sometimes the number 2 catcher works the day game after the night game. Sometimes he works the night game. Might be a question of which pitcher he would catch. 2-0. Big crowd, a sellout crowd of 48,885. Some of them still here chanting for the Rangers down to their final out, trailing 5-1. That's the slider in for a strike for Gregerson. That's been his staple pitch down through the years.
High strike maybe. Let's see where that, yeah, that catches a portion of that zone. I wonder how much the umpires take a look at those zones and kind of feel for whether they're in it or not.
Well, you know, from what we've been told down through the years, they have been handed copies of game tapes.
I think that's a very good thing, and I have never cared for the, well, that's not in my strike zone.
Right.
Hitters could certainly play that same.
Yeah. 3-2.
I suggest you change that call blue. It's not in my strike zone.
The Astros trying to break a string of 7 straight losses in road openers. And they do it with a strikeout from Gregerson. Stranding a runner at third. It's no runs a hit and a man left. The Astros beat Texas 5-1 in 2 hours and 45 minutes for win number 1 on the road this season for Houston. And it's a 2-2 start for the Astros, erasing memories of the near no-hitter yesterday by the Indians with their biggest hit total of 10 to date in the young season, winning it 5-1.